The courtroom smelled like old wood and cold coffee. Maya Carter sat stiffly in a hard plastic chair, her wrists resting on the table in front of her, her heart hammering so loud she was sure the bailiff could hear it. She had never been in trouble a day in her life. She was 26 years old, a kindergarten teacher who recycled, adopted a three-legged cat, and cried at insurance commercials, and somehow she was being accused of corporate fraud. It made zero sense. 3 weeks ago, Maya had gone to her second job, a part-time data entry position at Harlow Financial, clocked in, done her work, and gone home. Then, on a Tuesday morning, detectives had knocked on her door at 6 a.m. with a warrant and a very long list of accusations. Apparently, someone had used her login credentials to siphon nearly $2 million from client accounts. Apparently, that someone had also made it look very, very much like Maya. She had no money for a fancy lawyer. Her public defender had been a tired man named Gerald, who kept checking his phone during their meetings. Then Gerald had a family emergency and was replaced overnight. That was how Maya ended up staring at the door of the consultation room when it swung open and the most beautiful woman she had ever seen walked in. She was tall, maybe 5'9", with warm brown skin, natural hair pinned up in a sleek puff, and dark eyes that immediately scanned the room like they were calculating the fastest way to win. She wore a fitted charcoal blazer over a white blouse, and her heels were red. Bright, bold, unapologetic red. She dropped a thick file on the table and stuck out her hand. "Jordan Ellis, I'm your new attorney." Maya shook it, a little dazed. "Maya Carter, I know who you are." Jordan sat down and flipped open the file without looking up. "I've read everything. I also read between the lines." She finally looked up, and her gaze was sharp. "You didn't do this." Maya blinked. "How do you know? We just met." Jordan tilted her head, the corner of her mouth pulling up just slightly. "Because whoever did this was careful, professional, and covered their tracks almost perfectly. You work 2 jobs and take care of a 3-legged rescue cat. No offense, but financial criminals are rarely that wholesome." Maya let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Jordan's expression softened, just a fraction. "I'm going to get you out of this," she said, "but I need you to trust me completely. Can you do that?" Maya looked at her, really looked at her. There was something in Jordan's eyes that wasn't just professional confidence. It was something personal, something like quiet fury on Maya's behalf, like she was already angry at whoever had done this. "Yes," Maya said softly. "I trust you." Jordan nodded, clicked her pen, and got to work. They sat in that room for 3 hours. Jordan asked question after question, rapid fire but never unkind. She leaned forward when she listened, tapped her fingers lightly on the table when she was thinking, and once, when Maya described coming home to find detectives going through her things, Jordan's jaw tightened in a way that made Maya feel strangely protected. By the time they were done, the sun had set outside the narrow window near the ceiling. "We'll meet again Thursday," Jordan said, gathering her papers. She stood, smoothed her blazer, and then paused. "For what it's worth, Maya, this system doesn't always treat innocent people fairly, but I do." She met Maya's eyes one last time. "Get some sleep?" Then she walked out on those red heels, and Maya sat in the empty room, pressing her hand to her chest, trying to figure out why her heart was doing something it absolutely should not be doing. She told herself it was just gratitude. She was a very good liar. Thursday came faster than Maya expected. She showed up to Jordan's law office 15 minutes early, wearing the nicest thing she owned, a soft blue wrap dress that her friend Danny had called effortlessly pretty. The office was on the 4th floor of a glass building downtown. It was modern, clean, and smelled like good coffee. The receptionist, a young guy named Leo, smiled when she walked in. "Miss Carter, Jordan's running just a couple minutes late. She said to make yourself comfortable and help yourself to coffee." Maya poured herself a cup and wandered to the window. The city stretched out below, busy and bright. She watched a pigeon argue with a pretzel on the sidewalk and felt, weirdly, like laughing. The pigeon always wins. Maya turned. Jordan was standing in the doorway of her office in a deep burgundy blazer. hair down today, soft and full around her face. She was holding her own coffee cup and watching Maya with warm amusement. Maya smiled before she could stop herself. Good to know. Jordan gestured for her to come in, and Maya followed. The office was personal, in a way she hadn't expected. A framed photo of two older women, probably Jordan's moms, on the desk. A small cactus that had a googly eye sticker on its pot. A sticky note on the monitor that just said, "You got this. Yes, you do." Maya pointed at it. "Is that for clients or for yourself?" Jordan glanced at it and smiled. A real smile this time, not the professional one. Honestly, both. They settled in, and Jordan walked her through the case strategy. She had already subpoenaed server logs from Harlow Financial and found something important. The IP address used to execute the transfers didn't match any device Maya had ever used. Someone had her login, but they weren't using her computer. "That's huge, right?" Maya said. "It's a start," Jordan said, "but it tells us two things. 1, someone inside the company set you up. 2, they knew enough about you to make it convincing." She looked at Maya. "Did you have any close relationships at work? Anyone who might have had access to your credentials?" Maya thought. There was one person, a guy named Brett in IT. He helped me reset my password once, maybe 4 months ago. She paused. He asked me out a couple times. I turned him down. Jordan's pen stopped moving. Her eyes lifted slowly to meet Maya's. "Did you feel unsafe around him?" "Not unsafe, just uncomfortable." He was persistent. Something shifted in Jordan's expression. Not dramatic, but Maya caught it. A tightening around the eyes, a careful, controlled breath. "Okay," Jordan said, writing it down. "Brett is now a person of interest. I'll dig into his employment history and access logs." She looked up again. "You did the right thing by saying no to him, just so you know." Maya felt warmth bloom in her chest. "Thank you." They worked for another 2 hours. At some point, Leo knocked and left a plate of cookies outside the door, and they both reached for the same chocolate chip one at exactly the same moment. Their fingers touched. Neither of them pulled back right away. Jordan cleared her throat and let go. "Sorry," she said, and went back to her notes. But there was color in her cheeks now, and Maya had to look away at the wall so she didn't do something embarrassing like smile too wide. When Maya left that evening, Jordan walked her to the elevator. "You're going to be okay, you know," Jordan said quietly. "I keep trying to believe that." "Don't try, just know." Jordan pressed the elevator button for her. The doors slid open. "I'll call you Friday if I find anything on Brett." Maya stepped in. She turned around. Jordan was watching her with that careful, guarded expression, and for one suspended second, neither of them spoke. The doors closed. Maya exhaled. She was in trouble. A different kind this time. Jordan called Friday, just like she promised. But it wasn't good news. "Maya," her voice was tight, "I need you to come in today. Something happened." Maya was at her kitchen table with her cat, Noodle, on her lap. She sat up straight. "What kind of something?" "Brett filed a complaint against you. He's claiming you're harassing him, that you've been calling him and sending threatening messages." The air left Maya's lungs. I haven't spoken to him since I was arrested. I don't even have his number." "I know." Jordan's voice was steady, controlled. Someone made calls from a burner phone to his number and spoofed a local area code. The messages were sent from an email that looks like yours, but has one letter off. Classic framing. A pause. Whoever set you up is watching. They know the case is progressing, and they're scared. "That means they're escalating," Maya said quietly. "Yes, a beat. It also means we're getting close. Come in at noon." "And Maya?" Her voice softened. "Don't panic. I've got you." Maya held on to those 3 words the whole drive there. The noon meeting was intense. Jordan had a whiteboard in her conference room covered in names and timelines. She walked Maya through it all. Brett's access history, A suspicious transfer at 2:47 a.m. on a night Maya could prove she was at a parent-teacher conference, and a second IP address that kept showing up that traced to a VPN registered to a shell company. The shell company connects back to someone at Harlow, Jordan said. She tapped the board. A senior account manager named Richard Voss. He had access to everything. He also had a gambling debt worth about 3 times what was stolen. She looked at Maya. We think Brett helped him. Maybe unknowingly. Maybe not. Either way, Voss is the architect. Maya stared at the board. At her own name in the middle of a web she'd never asked to be part of. She felt tears build hot behind her eyes and pressed her fingers to her mouth. Hey, Jordan was beside her suddenly. Not touching, but close. Close enough that Maya could feel the warmth of her. Look at me. Maya looked. Jordan's eyes were dark and serious and incredibly kind. You are not going to fall apart. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be scared. But you are not going to fall, okay? I won't let you. Maya blinked, and one tear slipped out anyway. Jordan, without hesitating, reached up and wiped it away with her thumb. The touch lasted only a second, but it rewired something in Maya. Something quiet and certain settled in her chest. She was falling for her lawyer. She knew it the way you know a storm is coming. Not from the rain, but from the shift in the air. Okay, Maya whispered. I'm okay. Jordan stepped back, professional walls sliding gently back into place. But her eyes held something soft that the walls couldn't quite cover. Good, she said, because we go to the DA's office Monday with everything we have. If this goes the way I think it will, they'll shift the investigation toward Voss. Maya wiped her face and squared her shoulders. Then let's make sure we're ready. Jordan looked at her for a long, steady moment. Then she smiled, slow and real and just for Maya. You're tougher than you look, Maya Carter. You're not the first person to be surprised by that, Maya said. And just like that, they were both laughing, and the weight in the room lifted, and for a few minutes, it was just the two of them, a whiteboard full of bad guys, and something fragile and electric growing quietly between them. Sunday came, and Jordan called at 7 in the evening. I'm outside your apartment, she said, with Thai food. Is that okay? Maya looked down at her pajama pants and cat print t-shirt. You're outside right now? I should have texted first. I was prepping case files and I drove past a place we used to order from when I was in law school, and I got too much food. A pause, and Jordan's voice dropped quieter. And I thought maybe you were alone and thinking too hard about Monday. Maya was absolutely thinking too hard about Monday. Give me 2 minutes, she said. She didn't change out of her pajamas. She just put on a cardigan and ran a brush through her hair and buzzed Jordan up. Jordan arrived at her door carrying 2 big paper bags and looking unfairly gorgeous in dark jeans and an olive green sweater, her hair loose and natural. She looked softer this way, more reachable. Nice shirt, Jordan said, nodding at Maya's cats. Thank you. It's vintage Target. Jordan laughed and walked in. They spread the food out on Maya's small coffee table and sat on the floor with Noodle immediately investigating Jordan's ankle. Maya warned her that Noodle was standoffish with strangers. Within 4 minutes, Noodle was curled in Jordan's lap. She never does that, Maya said, genuinely baffled. Animals trust honest people, Jordan said simply, scratching behind Noodle's ears without looking up. They ate and talked, and somewhere in the middle of it, the conversation stopped being about the case. It became about Jordan's childhood in Atlanta, the 2 moms in the photo on her desk, Gloria and Renee, how they'd both cried when Jordan passed the bar. It became about Maya's mom in Phoenix and how she called every Sunday and always asked if Maya was eating enough, and how Maya never had the heart to say that she mostly ate cereal for dinner. You're eating pad thai, Jordan pointed out. This is the most I've cooked all week. Jordan looked at her, amused and fond, and Maya felt it again, that shift in the air, that electric warmth. Can I ask you something personal? Jordan said, quieter now. Yes. The night of the transfers, You were at a parent-teacher conference until 10. You mentioned going home alone. She paused. Is there anyone? Someone who worries about you in this? Maya understood what she was really asking. No, she said. I've been single for about 2 years. I was with someone, but... She shrugged. It didn't work. She said I was too quiet, that I didn't let people in. Jordan's expression flickered. Just briefly, but Maya caught the she. Are you? Jordan asked softly. Am I what? Too quiet, too hard to reach. Maya looked at her across the small table, the takeout containers between them, noodle purring, the city humming outside the window. She thought about all the walls she'd built, all the times she'd decided it was safer to be alone. Maybe, she said honestly, but I think I've been waiting for someone worth opening up for. The silence that followed was not uncomfortable. It was full. Jordan looked away first, dropping her eyes to her food, but there was a smile on her lips she wasn't quite hiding. They stayed until almost midnight. Jordan helped clean up the containers, and when she stood at the door to leave, she turned and said, You're going to walk in there Monday, and you're going to be fine. You'll be right next to me, Maya said. Every step, Jordan confirmed. And then, without fully planning it, Maya stepped forward and hugged her. It was quick, barely 5 seconds, but Jordan's arms came around her firmly, and she held on with the kind of steadiness that made Maya feel, for the first time in months, completely safe. When they stepped back, neither of them said anything about it. But Jordan touched Maya's face, just her fingertips on her cheek, featherlight, and then walked down the hall. Maya closed the door and pressed her back against it and grinned at her ceiling like a complete fool. The DA's office was colder than Maya expected. She sat beside Jordan at a long conference table, 2 district attorneys across from them, a stack of documents between them. Maya wore a navy blazer she'd borrowed from Danny. Jordan wore black, sharp, powerful, immovable. We have server logs, IP trace data, financial records connected to Richard Voss, and a witness statement from a junior associate at Harlow who overheard Voss discussing the plan, Jordan said, sliding documents across the table in a neat sequence. We also have forensic evidence that the devices used to access Maya Carter's accounts were registered under a shell company created by Voss 3 months before the fraud occurred. She paused. What we don't have is any credible evidence against my client, because there isn't any. The DAs looked through the documents quietly. Maya sat still. Jordan, under the table, rested 2 fingers lightly against the back of Maya's hand. Not a full hold, just a point of contact, a signal. I'm here. You're not alone. Maya breathed. After 45 minutes of back and forth, the lead DA, a tired-looking man named Howard, sat back and looked at Jordan. We're going to need to bring Voss in for formal questioning. That's all I'm asking, Jordan said. We may need to revisit Ms. Carter's charges. That's what we're here for. Howard looked at Maya. Miss Carter, I want to be clear. Nothing is resolved today, but this new evidence changes things significantly. Maya nodded. I understand. When they walked out of the building into the sharp morning air, Maya stopped on the steps and tilted her face up toward the sky. Her chest felt looser than it had in weeks. Jordan? Yeah? Thank you. She looked at her. I know it's not over, but today felt like the ground stopped moving, Jordan finished. Maya blinked. Exactly like that. Jordan looked at her for a long moment. The morning light fell warm across her face, and Maya thought she was the most beautiful person she had ever stood this close to. Then Jordan's phone rang. She answered, listened for 30 seconds, and her expression changed. What happened? Maya asked the moment she hung up. Jordan's jaw was set. Voss's lawyer just called mine. He's trying to cut a deal. She met Maya's eyes. He's going to name an accomplice in exchange for reduced charges. A pause. The accomplice he's naming is Brett. Maya's stomach dropped. So they both did this. Looks like. Jordan's voice was controlled, but Maya could see the anger underneath it, clean and righteous. Brett didn't just help with ID access. He's been feeding Voss information about employees for months. You were chosen deliberately. Single woman, part-time worker, small social circle, no powerful connections. Jordan's jaw tightened. They thought no one would fight for you. The words hung in the air. Maya said quietly, "They were wrong." Jordan looked at her. Something moved behind her eyes, deep and warm and carefully restrained. "They were very wrong," she said softly. 2 days later, Jordan called with her voice wound tight as a spring. "I need you to come in. Now. Don't talk to anyone on the way." Maya's heart kicked into high gear. She was at Jordan's office in 20 minutes. Jordan met her at the elevator, which was new, because Jordan usually let Leo escort her up. Her expression was controlled, but her eyes were moving fast, tracking everything. "What's happening?" Maya said, the moment the elevator closed. "Voss's deal fell through. His lawyer pulled out this morning. An hour later, someone filed a motion to suppress our IP evidence, claiming it was obtained improperly." Jordan looked at her. "Maya, someone inside the DA's office leaked our strategy to Voss's legal team." Maya stared. "Someone in the DA's?" "Tipped them off, gave them enough to fight back." Jordan's voice was crisp, but underneath it was fury. "We have a mole." They went into Jordan's office, and Jordan shut the door, and for the first time, Maya watched Jordan pace. Quick, controlled steps, thinking out loud. The motion won't hold. The evidence was obtained correctly. But it buys Voss time, and if he gets time, he gets to build a new story. She stopped. There were only 5 people in that meeting. Me, you, 2 DAs, and a paralegal who's been with Howard's office for 12 years. It could be anyone. It could. Jordan sat down across from Maya and leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Up close, Maya could see the tired lines around her eyes, the tension in her shoulders. She looked like someone who had not slept and was refusing to show it. Without thinking, Maya reached over and covered Jordan's hand with hers. Jordan stilled. "You have worked so hard on this," Maya said quietly. "Don't lose the thread because someone's scared. If they're fighting this dirty, it means we're winning." Jordan looked down at their hands, then up at Maya. Something broke open in her expression. Not weakness, but honesty. Raw and real. "I'm not scared of losing the case," Jordan said. "I'm scared of letting you down." The room went very quiet. "Jordan," Maya said softly. "I know," Jordan said quickly, starting to pull back. "I know, it's not." "Hey." Maya didn't let go of her hand. "Look at me." Jordan looked. "You are the only reason I haven't fallen completely apart," Maya said. "Every day since you walked into that consultation room in those red heels, I have had one thing to hold on to. You." She paused. "So don't tell me you're scared of letting me down. You haven't let me down once." Jordan's throat moved. "Maya," she said, and her voice was low and rough at the edges, in a way Maya had never heard before. "I need to be honest with you about something." "Okay." "This case." She stopped, tried again. You make it very hard for me to stay professional." Maya's heart was pounding. "Good," she said, "because staying professional is starting to sound a lot less important to me." Jordan exhaled slowly. Then she turned her hand over under Maya's so their palms were pressed together, and she held on. "After the case," Jordan said, "when this is over and I'm no longer your attorney, we need to talk." Maya's smile was slow and warm and completely unstoppable. "I'll hold you to that." Jordan squeezed her hand once, then let go, and sat up straight and picked up her pen, because she was Jordan Ellis, and she had a mole to find and a case to win. But for the rest of that afternoon, she worked with the softest look on her face. The mole turned out to be the paralegal. Not the 12-year veteran, the other one, a temp named Craig who'd been assigned to Howard's office 2 weeks before Maya's case was ever filed. When Jordan's investigator dug into Craig's background, they found a connection to a law firm that had quietly represented one of Voss's offshore accounts 3 years ago. Craig had been planted. waiting for exactly this case. When that information landed on Howard's desk, the DA's office moved fast. Craig was arrested Wednesday morning. By afternoon, the suppression motion was withdrawn. By Friday, Voss's deal was back on the table, this time with less leverage on his side and more on theirs. Jordan called Maya at 8 that evening. "It's done," she said. "Voss is taking the deal. He's named Brett as a co-conspirator. The DA is dropping all charges against you." A breath. "It's over, Maya. You're free." Maya was standing in her kitchen. She had to grab the counter. "Free," she repeated, like the word was a new language. "Completely." Jordan's voice cracked, just slightly, at the edge. "Every charge. Dismissed." "I'll have the paperwork Monday, but it's done." Maya pressed her hand to her mouth. Tears came, different from all the other tears of the last weeks. These weren't scared tears or angry tears. These were the tears of someone who had been holding their breath for months and was finally allowed to exhale. "Jordan," she managed. "I know," Jordan said softly. "Go ahead, you've earned it." And Maya cried, right there on the phone, ugly and relieved and grateful, while Jordan stayed on the line and didn't say anything because she didn't have to. When Maya caught her breath, she laughed. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I want to see you," Maya said. "Right now. Tonight." "Is that?" "I know it's late." "I'm already in my car," Jordan said. There was a smile in her voice. "I'm 7 minutes away." "You were already coming?" "I've been sitting in your parking lot for 20 minutes. I didn't want to tell you over the phone and then just drive away." Maya started laughing and crying at the same time, which was not graceful, but it was real. "Jordan Ellis," she said, "you are something else." 14 months of law school debt and questionable sleep habits, Jordan said, "but I have good instincts." "The best," Maya said. "Get up here." When the knock came, Maya opened the door, and there was Jordan, in a soft gray hoodie and sweatpants, the most underdressed Maya had ever seen her, holding a bottle of sparkling cider because she'd remembered Maya mentioned once she didn't drink, and her eyes were bright, and her hair was loose, and she looked like the answer to a question Maya hadn't known how to ask. "Hi," Jordan said. "Hi," Maya breathed. And then Maya stepped forward and kissed her. It was soft at first, a question. Then Jordan's hand came to Maya's face, and she kissed her back like an answer, like a yes, like something she'd been holding carefully for months, and was finally letting go. When they pulled back, they were both breathing a little faster. "I've been wanting to do that," Maya admitted, "since you walked in with those red heels." Jordan laughed, surprised and delighted. The red heels work every time. They went inside. They drank sparkling cider on Maya's couch. Noodle climbed immediately into Jordan's lap. They talked until 2 a.m. about everything and nothing. Gloria and Renee, Maya's mom in Phoenix, where Jordan wanted to travel, what Maya's classroom looked like, the pigeon and the pretzel. And when Jordan finally said she had to go, she stood at the door and looked at Maya with those dark, warm eyes and said, "So, when the case is officially closed Monday, you owe me a real dinner," Maya said. "I was thinking I owed you about 40 dinners," Jordan said. "Start with one," Maya said. "We have time." Jordan smiled, stepped forward, kissed her once more, slow and sweet and deliberate. "Monday," she said against her lips. "Monday," Maya agreed. 6 months later, Maya wore a yellow dress to the rooftop dinner Jordan had planned for their half-anniversary. She knew it was their half-anniversary because Jordan had put it in her calendar, both of their calendars, with a little heart emoji that Maya had screenshot and sent to Danny immediately with 17 exclamation points. The rooftop was strung with warm lights. There was a small table and too much food, and a view of the city that made Maya feel like she was standing inside a snow globe, only warm, only gold. Jordan arrived in a deep green wrap dress and, of course, red heels. Maya started laughing before she even said hello. "You wore them on purpose," she said. "I wear them every time something matters." Jordan said simply, and held out her arms. Maya walked into them. Jordan held her tight, both arms wrapped around her, face pressed into Maya's hair. 6 months, Maya murmured. The fastest 6 months of my life, Jordan said. They ate and talked, and at some point Maya kicked off her sandals and put her feet in Jordan's lap, and Jordan held them there, like it was the most natural thing in the world, tracing absent patterns on her ankle while she talked. This was who they were now. Easy, real, warm. I want to tell you something, Jordan said, quieter. Maya looked at her across the candlelight. When I took your case, Jordan said carefully, it was assigned to me randomly. Gerald's emergency, my name at the top of the list. I almost passed it because I had 3 other active cases. She paused. I almost passed it. Maya held very still. But I looked at your file for 5 minutes and I knew someone had hurt you on purpose. And I got angry. Jordan's voice was soft but steady. I took it because I was angry. And then I met you, and I understood why I'd felt so strongly. Why? Maya whispered. Jordan reached across the table and took both of Maya's hands. Because you were worth being angry for, she said. And I think I knew from that first room, the way you looked at me, scared and hopeful at the same time, that you were going to change something in me. Maya's eyes were blurring. You changed something in me too, she said. You made me believe I was worth fighting for. She squeezed Jordan's hands. I'd spent so long thinking I was too quiet, too small, too easy to overlook, and you walked in and treated me like I mattered from the very first sentence. Jordan lifted Maya's hands and pressed her lips to her knuckles. You matter, she said, more than you know. They stayed on that rooftop until the city lights had all blurred soft and low below them. Jordan slow danced with Maya to a song playing from her phone, something slow and lovely, and Maya rested her cheek on Jordan's shoulder and thought about the consultation room, the cold coffee smell, the way the most beautiful woman she'd ever seen had walked in and said, I believe you? Sometimes the worst things that happen to you walk in wearing a disguise. Sometimes a frame-up leads to falling in love. Sometimes the red heels are a sign. Later, standing at Maya's door, a familiar spot, their spot now, Jordan kissed her slowly and thoroughly, and Maya kissed her back with everything she had, and Noodle meowed loudly from inside because he had feelings about being left out. They broke apart laughing. Come in, Maya said. Your cat needs you. My cat? Jordan raised an eyebrow. He likes you more than me now. That makes him yours. Jordan smiled the real smile, the one only Maya got, and stepped inside. And the door closed behind them both.